please stand and remove your hats for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Item number 2, action on agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda not necessarily in this order? So moved. Second. Motion by Dan, second by David. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll move directly to item number 3, discussion action to vote to determine a candidate for the vacant town board supervisor position. As I mentioned last meeting, we had a resignation from the board, and I had announced that we would take it up at this meeting, and that was kind of the public notice of that. So do we have any nominations for replacement supervisor to fill the seat vacated by Rachel Lang?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would like to nominate Donald Lang.
Donald Lang, is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any other nominations for the board?
I think Don Jordan was willing to serve.
So you're nominating Don Jordan? I'll second.
Yes.
Any other nominations by members of the board? All right. We'll consider those closed then. Just a couple of quick announcements. Mr. Clerk, by statutory procedure, you have a vote in this, because that will make 5 then. So by statute, you have a vote. So how do we want to proceed? Do we want to do it like we did last time and see if each one gets 3 to move forward? Let's have some discussion first, though.
Okay, just I guess my perspective on this is that we're talking about a short-term, 1-year, finishing up an existing term, and Don Jordan has been on the board for a number of years in the past, also served as a chair, and brings a considerable amount of experience that will be valuable to the board.
Any other discussion?
I would definitely agree with that. I think that the kind of the background and the experience is something that would be good to have. Chairman and I are fairly new, obviously, but I think that that would indeed be very valuable to have that experience.
Duke, better known as Duke, Donald Lang, is Rachel Lang's husband. I feel that he would also do a very good job for us here. He has worked with the government, not our government, but the government. He's young enough that he could be an asset down the road. And being that his wife was on the board, I believe she would be a great asset to him to help him get his feet on the ground.
Mr. Clerk, you get an opportunity to weigh in here too, since you have a vote.
I definitely see both sides where having someone that's been on the board is beneficial. Also being the spouse of a former supervisor could be helpful to fall back on as well and talk about, maybe some of the process things that, he might not be familiar with and maybe get up to speed, but it seems like they're both good candidates and good options, so it's nice to have that.
I would agree, so I guess my comments are going to be real brief. I echo what you say, Mr. Ambrose, that we have the luxury of having 2 very good candidates. I think either would serve our community well. So for that reason, I will likely abstain unless there's a tie. So Mr. Clerk, when you do call roll, call yourself before me, please. The only thing I would say is that I do agree with Mr. Bartzel that as relative newcomers to the board, I know we have some challenging road and other intergovernmental issues coming up in the next year that will be our focus. So some experience would be greatly appreciated. But again, unless there's a tie, I plan to abstain because they're both really good candidates. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we have to do a roll call vote.
Supervisor Foster.
Yay.
Well, hold on.
Give a name?
Need a name.
Okay, Jordan.
Supervisor Blank.
Am I voting on Jordan or am I voting on?
I guess I'm making a motion on it then, or you just vote. So, okay, how about this? If I call your name, you give me the candidate you're voting for.
Yes.
Okay. My vote is for Blank.
Supervisor Bartzel.
Mr. Jordan.
And then I would be voting for Mr. Jordan as well.
And then for the record, I will abstain since there's 3 to 1. So, Mr. Jordan, I see you're here in the audience tonight. The next step in the process is you have to fill out an oath of office. Do you have that form given to him, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, I do have a form ready to fill in the name.
Okay. Mr. Jordan, if you would please see the clerk. Came prepared.
Congratulations, and we will put you to work immediately.
Mr. Clerk, can you attest that Mr. Jordan has signed his oath of office?
He has completed the official oath. He is good to go.
All right, Mr. Jordan, you may be seated. Congratulations and welcome, and thank you for volunteering to serve. Jack, you get that binder in there?
Supervisor 2.
All right, moving on. Consent agenda. Is there anything the board would like to hold and discuss separately from the consent agenda? Whether that be minutes, building inspector's report, treasurer's report, fire calls, animal control, or operator's licenses. We'll give our new supervisor a chance to look. All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Susan, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bartzel. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Committee reports, chairman's report. I did not have an official committee to report on that I went to, especially since now Supervisor Bartzel is going to fire and Dan has his committee. But I did make a presentation to the City of Hudson City Council regarding our annexation issue on the UU property. So, as part of my report, I would like to play that video. I think I've got the technology worked out here where we can share it. Mr. Mayor, as you know, I'm not a resident of the City of Hudson, but I'm asking as your chairman of the neighborhood jurisdiction if I can say a few words.
city head of the municipality.
Thank you, and I will definitely extend you, sir, that same courtesy or any member of this board. My name is Robert Fowler, and I do have the great privilege of being the chairman of the town of Hudson. We are literally neighbors in community. We share a lot of the institutions that make the greater Hudson area a great place. Makes it what it is. We share in going to the fire meetings, community development, and all those things. And I'd like to think that we have been very good neighbors, and we'd really like to keep it that way. But my duty is to represent the residents of the town of Hudson, and I'm here tonight in that capacity. My comments should in no way be construed as saying that we have a problem with the city's wrong. That's not why I'm here. We have a problem that needs a solution. So I am here, however, to ask you to please put an end to an annexation ordinance in any form with respect to the UU property that is currently owned by the school board. Here's what happened, for those that don't know. The school board made a deal with a private developer for a sale of that property contingent on something that is not allowed in our township. This property is 100% located in the town of Hudson and is located quite a bit into the city, or the town of Hudson. It is about halfway between exit 2 and exit 4 to orient everybody to where we're at. So, again, the developer and the board, which is not the city of Hudson, I realize that, but they made a deal that said, we want a sale contingent on something that is not allowed. And what's not allowed is our town has strict development standards for 2.5 acre average lot size. And they want to do this so that they can jam high-density housing in the middle of our town. It's not the reality that this is bordering the city in any way. So we've written the school board a letter because we're not opposed to development. That would be foolish. What we are hoping that they see the light is that we will be their partner in developing this property to town standards, or work with them to get somewhere where that is a usable property. Simply put, it's not contiguous right now, and I can't think of any route that will be. The Department of Administration has already said the first proposal that was given to you is a balloon on a string, and it's quite so. I mean, it's fairly obvious it is. So that the Department of Administration is waiting and said no. Let me engage in a brief thought exercise. If the shoe were on the other foot, can you imagine if a property owner in the city of Hudson said to you that we'd like to build something cool and shiny, but we don't want to pay the taxes, so we want to be seated in the town of Hudson? Of course you would say no, right? This is the exact same thing that's happening here, just in reverse. It's a fundamental principle, I believe, that people have a voice on what entity of government that they are under. I do have tonight, because I understand that citizens can't speak, I have a petition, many pages, of the neighboring owners bounded by Carmichael to A and from UU to the interstate. And I don't know who I give this to, but I'd like to at least give it to you. And as you can see from this petition, there are so many people opposed to it that I think this is, I don't see a route that makes any viable sense. So what I'm asking you to do is to, especially since you have never, as the history of the city, to my knowledge, approved a non-unanimous annexation, I would ask that you not make an exception, because if this long-standing rule has to be violated, I would ask you why, what's the purpose? We do not have any problem with orderly annexation. If somebody who bought a property that borders the city of Hudson, they know that annexation is likely. Our town will never stand in the way of an orderly annexation. This is not that. So with that, I just wanted to let you know face to face and professionally
to please stop this process. Let us work with the school board to develop this in our jurisdiction properly according to our standards. And I would just say that I'm sure if the shoe were on the foot, you would feel the same way. Thank you very much for your time. And like I said, all of you are welcome to Hudson anytime.
Sorry about the applause there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very well.
Who are the people applauding?
People from the
I
town.
suppose residents that showed up.
Yeah, so just to finish my report, so the council chambers was packed, standing room only, with a lot of the residents that I mentioned are bounded by that area. In fact, we sent out a letter a couple weeks ago to basically everybody bounded by that area, and even a little bit beyond. And the response we've gotten officially has been 100% positive and thanking us for sending that out, basically. In the meantime, we received a lot of calls that were, at least I personally, as chair, received so many calls saying, what can we do? And I said, talk to each other. That's the most important thing. Talk to us if you hear anything, see anything. And so organically, one of the communities there decided to start a petition. And I'm not kidding when I say it was 13 to 16 pages long, 12 lines apiece. So it was a substantial number of that community. And I'm just very proud that they did that on their own to, have their voices be heard. And basically, because the city of Hudson has a rule that you have to be a city resident, unfortunately, none of those folks who showed up at the meeting would have been able to speak. So I am very grateful, and I want to put this on the record, that Mayor Richard Connor allowed me to speak. I think we definitely would extend the same courtesy to him or any other neighboring jurisdiction on a matter that affects us. So I think it was the right call, but I hope I effectively communicated our town's position. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later in the agenda, but that's what I have to report from my end. The only other thing is I did delegate to Supervisor Fosterling another item on the agenda, so I appreciate that. I just want to say thank you. And as chairman, I'm very proud that all of our board members are doing more than just showing up to a meeting. They're really taking part, and I appreciate that as chairman. That's the end of my report.
I have one quick thing, Chairman. Not really a report, just seemed like a fitting place to acknowledge a couple things. If anyone noticed, we have a new flag on our flagpole. That happened yesterday. So wanted to just extend thanks to the American Legion from New Richmond. They had someone who takes old flags that are to be recycled or destroyed, and he happened to pass a town hall and just came by and said, hey, would you guys be interested in a new flag? Because ours was in pretty bad shape. So just want to take a minute to thank them for that, going out of their way to find us and do that. As well as, since we're on thanks right now, just again, we had the primary election here with the spring election coming up. Again, extending thanks to the clerks, the clerk and deputy clerk of River Falls were absolutely great with training, as well as the chief inspector here and alternate chief, Becky Milbrand and Sarah Wang. I mean, it was flawless. I mean, for coming in absolutely blind, it went really well. So it really meant a lot to have them here.
And actually, before I call the public comment, I want to publicly thank Nick Hanlos. As you know from a posting, we are going to be losing Mr. Hanlos as clerk. After getting to know him, this is a big loss for us, but I understand how family circumstances can change. There's nothing nefarious. We only wish him the best as part of our town. And if you'll give me one moment, there's a couple other people I would like to thank. The clerk had relayed to me that during elections, there were 2 citizens who went above and beyond that helped Mr. Hanlos out on his first election, they knew what to do because they'd been serving as election officials for a while. Becky Milrod and who was the other one?
Sarah Wagon, I should probably add area there as well. They came ahead of the normal training for the election workers, set up the equipment, helped me get everything tested, and they were there the latest of everyone on the actual primary day. So, and as well as exciting to the poll workers that came in as well. I mean, we need people here, and it's been great that everyone's been willing. Everyone worked all day, which is not required, but definitely helps. So it was a great turnout.
So, as I mentioned a couple meetings ago, that if we see citizens going above, if I see citizens going above and beyond, that I will be offering a Chairman's Award type certificate. It is my intention to issue that to those 3 persons, and I want to publicly thank them for their help and service. So that will be upcoming. Our treasurer has given me a template that I need to work on a little bit to tweak what that certificate looks like, but that's in the works. So now I'm finished, I promise. All right, turning to public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to anything that's not on the agenda. That being said, if it is in relation to the UU property, I'm going to make an exception. So if it's regarding the annexation, if you want to say anything, I'd like to hear it. So is there any public comment? Please state your name for the record.
Yeah,
and your address.
One apartment, I lived at 726 Glen Drive here in the township. And so just very briefly, and I appreciate thanks for going down to the city and chatting with them. I too did a little bit of homework on this topic, and I want to share with the board and other other residents. So I called the city, and the information that I was giving, which I think is important to share, is that the construction company has 2 plans, essentially. One to run along the interstate, I-94, which is where we live on Glen, and the other one is to go down UU. So the reason this is important is I'm not sure if that information is readily known, and because the city really didn't, the other individuals that I spoke in leadership roles in the city, and I don't want to mention who they are, it doesn't really matter, but they knew nothing of this other than what they knew from the school board. So I'm hoping that the city took seriously what you said, and I'm glad to see that we had such a great turnout as far as the petition. I'm very proud of that, and a lot of people in our neighborhood got together and signed that. It's an example of where we get good information and we come together and we try to push back on that. So thank you to all of you, and it sounds like pretty much you're all unanimous moving forward as far as what your thoughts are on it, and hopefully that continues. So there was one question I did have for you, Mr. Cloud. There was on the letter that we received, thank you very much again, there was a 500% increase, and I'm just curious where you got that amount. And then I'll take your comment on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? I'm going to put you on the agenda right after this, so I know you're here. Anybody else have any public comment tonight? Mr. White?
Unless you're going to answer about UU, mine's something different.
Please, it doesn't matter the topic, let's go.
I have a thank you to the board. Is the mic on? No, there we go. The last election, previous elections, because of my tremors, I've had to have assistance filling out the ballot. Because of my tremors, I can't fill in that little circle. So I asked for assistance this time, and there's a new machine that'll do it for me. It was amazing. It was cool. So I want to thank Nick or whoever, I don't know if that's a requirement now.
It has been, it's kind of scary that you haven't seen it before because it's required.
Well, it was never there before, but, so it was very nice to have.
Good. Glad you're looking at it.
And it worked great.
Great.
It was really good, thank you.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Last chance. Any other public comment? All right, public comment is now closed. I'm going to move with everybody's understanding Ernest Grafseth to be considered next. Item 12. Come on up, sir, if you had a question. Okay. I don't think he's here. Oh, this is not him?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
We can still take your question though.
Let me just
Yes, go
make
ahead.
this comment. It's about the annexation.
Please.
I'm Paul Hamlin, 756 Gertie Lane, and I have been in development for a great deal of my life, so I'm not anti-development. But, you know, we have an option in our life. If we want to live in a city with 7 million people, we can do that. If we want to live out in the country, we can do that. If I had wanted to live in some place where we could have high density projects, I would be living there. But I didn't want that. I wanted to live out here. And I appreciate your efforts. You can count on me and a great number of people to take whatever course of action to stop this. What really perturbs me is that when the city of Hudson seems to be supporting the school for a bad decision that they made a number of years ago about buying property which can never be annexed. And now they decide they want to come back and try to annex it and shove it down our throat. I'm a Southern boy, originally from Atlanta, Georgia. Been up here since '74. The last thing that you want to do is try to shove something down a Southern boy's mouth. Because he'll bite your arm off. I thank you, and any assistance I can be, you have my name, give me a call. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I apologize, I confused this gentleman with another, so that's why I told him to sit down at first. So, my apologies.
That's okay.
I still want to take, well, actually, since he's not here and he might show up later, we're going to just go in order. Discussion about the letter sent to the town residents about the UU school district property. Let me just ask my fellow board members, you all saw the letter, correct? Okay. Do you have any questions about, you know, that was something we ran by our council?
Yeah, I think that, you know, how the letter reads and maybe sometimes how it's perceived, you know, is important. And I think in some cases, some people felt that if the property on UU that's owned by the school was brought into the town, that there would be immediate pressure to put everything else into the town or into the city. You know, between those two places. And I mean, practically speaking, you know, that's highly unlikely because, you know, the houses are spread out to the point where city infrastructure, you know, would just not be, would be cost prohibitive, you know, for existing property and so forth. That said, you know, there's still, you know, the issues, you know, that have been brought up, including, you know, tonight by, you know, the speakers. So I just wanted to make that point because, you know, while it is an important issue, you know, we don't want to create panic in regard to this.
Right. And, you know, I concur with you on that. It probably wouldn't happen that second, you know, with a sewer trunk line coming. But the problem is, it's so far into our territory that one by one they can start following like dominoes. And it's not that far to our core businesses on the intersection of A and Rocky, right? And if we lose that, we just have residential, you know, essentially. And, you know, it's I think the biggest compelling reason, and I have to give Dave Bartels credit, he took it first draft at it, is, you know, like the gentleman said, you know, people chose to live up here. They knew they were bordering the city, and they chose to have the space of 2.5 acres. And the moment we let high density in, if we don't do something, it drastically changes the character of our entire town. And, you know, creating this island would give them precedent to do what we need. Cherry pick the best pieces of property. So there's actually more reasons that we condensed it down into the letter that we had. But I think there's even more arguments for why. Anybody else want to say anything about the annexation letter, where we're at, next steps?
I could add another thing. I think that might be informative because Mr. Hartman brought up, you know, the southern approach, and there was a discussion of going down Crosby, and if you just continue on south straight, you would go up a driveway, and then you would go through some properties that essentially, you know, kind of go around the interchange. You know, we're going down to River Falls, and on the west side of that, of course, is city. So, you know, the thought is that, excuse me, my light went off. Hold on a second, try it again. I got it. Okay. So the thought is that it would be contiguous if, you know, they went from city on the other side of 94 and then kind of come up through that area. There's very few homeowners, you know, in the way because they're kind of behind the extension of Crosby. Okay, thank you. Keeps going off. But you know, there's the only homeowner that I know of who has actually been that's in the way has said no. And then if you go back to the other way, coming down UU, there really is only a homeowner that's on the very corner, which is wanting to go commercial forever, and then one other homeowner. Otherwise, you know, they are vacant property owners. So, you know, you could say that there are really, there's really only just about one homeowner that has been willing to be annexed into the city. The rest are really vacant properties or properties that, you know, somebody would develop. And so they're not looking to come into the city so they can live here. They live in the city. They're basically looking to sell their property to someone else who might use it for, you know, more commercial or high density type uses. So
I want to give you a little update. I did have an opportunity to speak to our special legal counsel on Monday before I went to the city. It occurred to me, as you all know, I have a Wisconsin law degree and license. It occurred to me that an interstate highway, which is roughly 200 plus feet at its narrowest, is not the same as a road of 23 feet. And the Wisconsin Supreme Court had ruled that if you cross a regular road, 23 feet, it can be contiguous. I think an interstate highway is vastly different. In fact, there were studies, you know, when the Eisenhower administration put in the interstate highway that it's segregated neighborhoods, et cetera. It's not an access road. You know, it's limited access by the exit points, right? So to say that that's contiguous alone is problematic. Then I took a real close look at the county's GIS, the property map, and lo and behold, there appears to be on the north side of what is the city of Hudson, just south of 94. It looks, if you're looking at the map, the zoning map, that the city abuts the interstate. It does not. There's a strip of land, probably 20 feet. I'd have to find out exactly. That is Town of Hudson. And if we have undeveloped land there, we should seriously consider creating a walking path and making public use that will stop everything from the south coming up here. End of story. So when you ask what's the next steps, I think I did talk to our legal counsel. We're going to probably discuss that in closed session a little bit. So I would anticipate we'll have at least one more closed session with our attorney. But if that's the case, if there is a strip of land that the city is still, if it's still Town of Hudson land, then we ought to make that a public walking path or something like that, and then it's done.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I can attempt to address Mr. Hartman's question about the taxing jurisdictions and the increase, if you would wish me to.
Yes, that would be great.
Okay. As you probably know, there's four separate taxing jurisdictions so that the St. Croix County School Board, the Technical College, and the town. Each of those districts, each of those entities set their own mill rate. The mill rate being essentially the percentage of the value of your property that you pay in taxes. Doing some research on properties that were kind of equally valued, looking back and forth between the town and the city, some dozen examples that I found. The municipal tax for the city of Hudson is in fact over 5 times the mill rate that the town's tax rate is. So that's where that 500% increase comes from. So if you have a property that's in the town, moves into the city, and it does not change in value, that municipal portion of the property tax will go up by more than 5x. So that's where that came from. Mr. Hartman, if you want more detail, I can sit down with you and go through exactly how I calculated that. Just let me know.
Thank you.
New Supervisor Jordan, you live in this area more or less, is that right? Do you have any thoughts, concerns to add at this time?
I'll keep my thoughts very brief. I think they're in alignment with the comments that I've heard tonight. I would just broaden the discussion just a tad. The issue becomes what's the highest and best use for that land. The question then becomes who gets to decide that. It's not elegant language, but the language I've used is the school district is us. It's not like the school district is a separate entity. We have 9,000 people here that go to the same school. So if we're looking at that piece of land, it isn't like the school isn't able to sell that property. They just won't be able to sell it for the next incremental $1 million or whatever extra that they get out of it by putting all that high density on there. And I think the promise made is a promise kept. If those of us that moved here 50 years and earlier moved here for reasons to say, this is why we moved here, this is how we rely on zoning ordinances. So here's my precise comment. As we try to have good working relationships with the community, the city, the school, the other towns, there's been an understanding that this would be a contiguous annexation. I always say it's like a loaf of bread. We're going to cut off the next slice of bread, but you don't get to go all the way down and cut the crust off from the end of it and have that with your peanut butter and jelly. You have to have something that makes sense for the next generation. Then we went to unanimous consent, which says the state says if all of the neighbors get together and they all want this, they can come in whether or not the town is against it or not. Well, now we're down to non-unanimous consent. Now we're finding out that there's not unanimous consent of the people that want this to come in. So we're dealing with that through petitions. The state has said that the balloon on the stick situation is a very bad plan. And if they don't come through from 494, they have to come down through UU. Either one is a balloon on a stick when you get right down to it. So I would just ask tonight, you know, maybe, I thought you did an excellent job sharing with the city council. Maybe we ask to be invited to the school board, at least make our wishes known to them. I don't know. But I do think what we're doing is the right thing, having a petition, making it known, and seeing what our legal rights are. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. And I think you lead into one more point that I'd like to discuss is, you know, we just sent this letter to the school board on Monday. It was by email, so they got it already. But by now, the hard copies also arrived. So I think what my plan was, unless the board objects, was to let that sink in, let them have a chance to discuss it, and within a reasonable amount of time, do a similar presentation to them. And the thing that really strikes me, and I agree with your comments, Don, that, you know, they're forgetting that we are a large part of the Hudson School District, right? And to say that we're going to slap all of you in the face by not adhering to our rules was a very foolish judgment, in my opinion. And it didn't take into account the fact that, you know, 8,500 to 9,000 people, you know, are sending their kids to the school district, right? And it really, I don't think they thought of our community at all, at the best, right? At worst, it's, you know, whatever that incremental value is. And, well, and that leads to another point. If all this fails, that's why we put over $100,000 in legal fees to fight this. That's why I insisted on that back in November. Was, you know, sometimes if you can't reach a deal, you have to be prepared. And the world is just that kind of place. Now, I'd like to not use that. I'd like to have that money go to other uses for our community. But this is an important issue. You know, when we have an entire neighborhood almost unanimously sign a petition, organically within a matter of days, that says something. So this is an important issue for our entire town, not just this small area. It's not a small area, number one. It's a substantial portion of our town. But I hope that I can talk, just as I did with the city, and say, because I mean it, you know, we should be good partners for development with them. This is land that, if developed to town standards, would probably raise everybody's property values, right? But if it's high density, probably the opposite's going to happen, right? So that's my thoughts, and I guess I would leave it with this. I think unless there's an objection, I will plan on giving it a reasonable amount of time, and then I'll try to address the school board. I'll also set up another meeting with our legal counsel in closed session. Susan, you've been quiet on this one. Anything you want to add?
No, it's just, you're doing a fine job of, we need to relay the message that we're not against development, but it's in our township, so we want it developed according to our standards and the density according to our standards and not the city's when it's not their property per se.
All right. I don't think we need any motions on this one, so unless anybody else has any other comments, we'll move on. Then we'll move on to number 9. Discussion action on the Willow River Company rebuilding plans. Mr. Clerk, we're on, let's see here. Let's get to the right spot in our packet.
I believe he was going to be here for Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't get an update when they were going to be here, but Scott did talk to them. They wanted to be here, but you're right, they did have something else. So we might
Tell you what,
let's for a minute.
Let's jump over item 9, then we'll come back to it. Let me make a note.
But Cedar Court's here.
Okay, Cedar Court, discussion number 10, discussion action on the Cedar Court concept plan. Is there anybody here for that?
questions, like I say, looking at, if you have questions for him. You guys have copies of the concept layout? Okay, so we brought this in for a pre-consultation. I spoke with Eric Dennisgaard and kind of went through that process. Did a little honing of the concept, got a little feedback from them, but wanted to bring it here before we dive into full design plans and a preliminary plat submittal to see if the town board has any other questions, comments, concerns based on what we have so far.
Well, there is problems here because it doesn't correlate with our future plans for that area. So we're going to have to do something about that because that's not entirely a residential area. So before we get to the next step, we have to deal with this.
When you say it's not ag residential?
It's in the comprehensive plan. Part of that property is not.
We looked at that with the planning commission, and the southern portion along the railroad there was at one time, I believe, zoned industrial. It's currently zoned as actually residential, not even ag residential. And feedback from the planning commission on that was they didn't seem to have issue here.
Right, but that's just the planning commission.
Right.
So
And I guess what are you
this
saying?
has been looked into further. So because the long-term consistency with the comprehensive plan is not what you're trying to do there. So we're going to have to make some type of an adjustment.
And I guess what are you looking at on the comprehensive plan that's different from what we're just seeing?
So there was given to you two options about the land use. One, that we could proceed without a future land use with the map amendment. And the second was amend the future land use because the land use map is part of that property. It's like a vague area where that is still commercial, industrial. It was not all residential.
Do we have anybody here from SCH? Is Bryce or Eric available for any comment?
No.
Okay. Because we went through that with them on a number of phone calls, and the indication we got was that this was fitting within the zoning and the guidelines that they were looking for based on their letters.
Yeah, it says during the preparation for the initial staff report, it was noted that the comprehensive plan future land use, FLUME, identifies the subject area generally as residential. Upon further review, the staff did not initially notice that a portion of the proposed subdivision comprising less than 1/4 of the total subdivision area is designated for industrial use on the FLUME. The remainder of the site is designated for residential use. So there's where our problem is.
Is that a new letter? Because I haven't seen it.
Well, let me just ask you this. So what is this land currently zoned as now?
The north 440s, 160 acres is ag residential. The 240s that are bisected by the railroad are zoned residential.
That doesn't make sense.
That's,
The only residential area we have is by the lake.
this is what the map that I was presented at the planning commission showed. This was residential.
Does that make any sense to you, Mr. Jordan?
Is that all right by the Northwest factory?
Correct.
It's by north, correct.
Or is it, are you talking about the east of it?
This would be east of Norland. Everything on the north part is all ag res. And then that part that's directly east of the North Lake is residential. Well, you can probably pull it up on your zoning map and see it. I don't have that handy, but
This letter was dated February 27th.
yep, I have not seen that letter.
So I'm just saying that we're going to have some more steps before we get any further.
Mr. Treasurer, you want
You want to hear?
I think it's second page of that letter that addresses that. You need to see that.
Yeah, I don't have that letter. I wasn't given
It
it.
talks about amending the future land use map. And I'm brand new here tonight as well, and I'm just looking at it on the fly. It's from Bryce and Brook.
Yep, Bryce.
And there's a whole second 2 pages of talking about the land use plan and amending the future land use plan.
Planning Commission didn't have the
Nope.
All right, well, I think one thing is very clear. Our map doesn't need to show that to be residential. It makes no sense to me, say that off the bat. But you haven't seen the letter.
I have not seen the letter.
So I think what we're going to need to do is come back again. Would you agree with me that you haven't seen it, you're not? Obviously not hearing you.
I don't have a separation for that.
Yeah.
I mean, we can look at the rest of it on its face and see if there's any other comments and address that issue separately.
Well,
knowing that it's already zoned properly.
sure, it's, yes and no, it would still be a mix. So here's my suggestion. Do you have any urgency to your plan? In a realistic sense?
I would say, you know, we'd like to keep this thing moving forward. So if we can get some feedback on the rest of the layout, it would be nice. Knowing that we are zoned properly for what we're doing. And if this is a comprehensive plan issue, then we can look at that and address that. I don't know how that piece would be dealt with industrial, as it wouldn't have any access unless you go through residential property. I mean, there's some problems with that continuing to be industrial.
Right, and they did touch on that in this letter
Right.
that I have in front of me. So
I'm
we
just
have
thinking,
a couple
I think
options.
it would move you to come back when you've seen the letter. That way you can answer questions based on that. We'll put you on, I promise we'll put you on the very next meeting.
Okay.
And if there's an issue, you can put it back on the planning commission for clarification.
Yeah, but I recommend you meet with SEH one more time, then come back to planning commission. Okay. If they can resolve it.
Yeah, I mean, what, because that would be even.
Because this is concept, it came to us as concept only too.
Yeah,
So
we're
they have
not
to come back
going
anyway.
Yep. And that would be the plan, is to get feedback, and then if this can be addressed, we can come back with a preliminary plan. And if this issue bogs the process down and there's something else, then we'd have to back up.
And I'm not taking any position, I don't think any of us are taking any position on the merits of what you're saying, but having not seen the letter, I feel like you would be at a disadvantage if we kept talking about it tonight. And I think because we could probably still get them on this month's planning commission. So what I recommend you do is give our clerk and or planning commission chair request them back on their planning commission agenda, and then we can put you back on in April's meeting in relatively short order. So that way you have all the information and we're all, any issues are resolved before, at least, so we're all talking on the same page.
Perfect.
Can I ask a quick question before you go?
Yeah.
So I saw the driveway permit came up in there too.
Yes.
Is that for the one that's on the west side of A?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that going to come south into A, or hit, is it where A goes east and west, or where it continues north?
That is about 500 feet up in from the curve, so north of the intersection with A. So it'll be coming off, or U there, I'm sorry. It'll be coming off about 500 feet up from that intersection.
Did you get anything else, like for coming out of the main landmass out to A?
Yes, that was discussed pretty extensively, and the county highway department, it says that's absolutely, they will not allow access up to in that area, it's not safe. They were hesitant about a driveway on that parcel on the west side, but it is landlocked otherwise, so there was no other way to do an access, and they allowed one single residential driveway to that 16 acres that's west there. but no access going out. And that's kind of why, with our layout, we've got a road that comes down, temporary cul-de-sac to the northerly property and also temporary cul-de-sac to the north, and then connections to Fraser and Coyote in the township so that we've got options. And eventually that road prospect could go north and connect up to McCutcheon somewhere east of the roundabout, if that land gets developed or when it gets developed.
And the only thing I have is, and I don't know if you guys talked about this in the Plan Commission too, but did the fire department weigh in about being able to get in there with stuff too? Otherwise, you got to come way up from the north to get in there.
Yeah, I think, at least at Plan Commission, they said it was discussed. I haven't personally had any conversations with the fire department.
They don't like it, but they accept it.
Well, and that's why I was wondering, maybe the county would give on it because you're going 4 miles out of the way to get right next to A.
Yeah, and those conversations with the county highway engineer, he was just absolutely that double lane there where everybody's running up like a racetrack trying to pass. They said that an intersection there would just be.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Well, I tell you what, we'll see you again soon. And, the intent here is not to just delay for delay's sake. I think we just need to be on the same page before we have a good discussion.
Yep. All right, just check with the clerk and get a copy of that letter from SCH then tomorrow. Sounds good?
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you.
We'll skip down to, actually, here. Why don't we do 11? Discussion action on the presentation of town hall playground equipment upgrade. And we're gonna do some technical stuff here.
For anyone that is interested, last September, myself and the park maintenance person, my husband Scott, went around and looked at all the play equipment, and we found problems. A lot of wood foundation that we use to keep the sand in, it's rotting, it's tearing apart, there's nails that are open. We found one of the seats is cracked, torn, is not safe. A lot of the rubber keepers that connect the swings and different chains and stuff, that stuff has deteriorated, it's cracked, it is a good potential for fingers to get cut, pinched, and Megan is from the Gerber products, which this playground equipment is a Gerber product. She took the time to go through the playground with us. We also found bolts that were not up to standard as far as the length. And she explained to me that we could replace some things, but however, unless we had the company do it, they're not going to stand by for the ADA compliant. And right now, the way our footing is out on that playground, it is not ADA compliant. So Megan is going to give us a little demonstration about what we may be able to do with our playground to keep some of the stuff that we have now and upgrade it and change that footing so that it would be ADA compliant. Thank you, Megan.
Yes. Does this work?
Is it green on here?
No.
Press it.
Gotta hold it.
There we go. Okay. It's so funny to look at you guys. But anyways, I'm Megan, like Susan said, and I actually live in Hudson, which is an exciting fun fact. But we have a cabin up in Cedar Lake, and growing up, when we come to Hudson, we live in the city, when we come to Hudson, we pass by this park all the time. So I slightly grew up visiting this park, and I take my kids to this park now. So that's how I found out that it was our equipment, and I stopped by and introduced myself a couple of years ago, which is how Susan knew to reach out to us. So, long story short, we are excited to show some options, and a project manager, so when it comes to installation, we call diggers, we do the whole 9 yards, make sure that everything's ready and the site's prepped. And then after installation, we do a safety check, safety walkthrough, and tell you that you're good to open your playground. So for the first option, what we did was, Susan gave me a general budget to work under for this, just to start. And so working with that budget, we did removal of the existing sand out there. Like she said, sand is no longer ADA compliant, but certified wood fiber is. There's lots of different options for safety surfacing for playgrounds. Certified wood fiber is the next best one from sand. Not saying that it's amazing for people, someone that might be running through in a wheelchair or a walker or something like that, but it's definitely better than sand, and it is technically ADA compliant. So what we are able to do with this being our equipment already is we're actually able to retrofit it, where we would take some of the existing equipment that's still in really good condition. For example, your slides are still in really good condition. And add on some new climbers, make things exciting again for the kids that maybe have grown up with the equipment that's out there. And then reusing your existing swing bays, but adding a new swing where the one is broken. And then we are proposing adding on just like a top arm, we call it. So it's just a toddler seat off to the side. And then removing the toddler bay that's out there just to free up some space for more independent play. There's a lot of new playground equipment that's come out in the past 31 years. So if you guys didn't know, that was from 1995, the equipment out there. And there's spinners, there's spring riders, there's so many different things that you can add in playgrounds now that just add to kids fun while they're out there. It's something new to try. We talk a lot about sensory input when it comes to playground equipment. So going down the slide versus swinging versus spinning, that's all different sensory input that kids can have. So our first option, my Wi-Fi works. My first option was at right under 98,000 for everything. So that was for, here it comes. So as you can see, these two slides are what you guys have out there right now in the tan. And then we basically built off of that with some new climbers, some that are flexible, some more cable climbers. This climber going on the side uses a lower deck, but gives kids the chance to go really high on the outside, but you can climb up on the inside as well. There's another climber on the other side that has like a nature theme to it. And then going down to that transfer point to make this structure ADA accessible with some more climbers as well. And then this is the 2 to 5 structure. So when it comes to playground equipment, it's normally split up between ages 2 to 5 and 5 to 12. Right now we have 2 to 5 and 5 to 12 out there, so we kind of went with that for this one. 2 to 5 structures are generally shorter, climbers aren't as challenging. Really, it's just a good place for kids, parents to be able to direct their kids, like this is the playground for you, and this is the playground for the older kids. And so with that one, we kept the same slides, but changed out all the panels, so new play panels on it, and then new climbers, and then new kind of transfer area going up. The steps going up to that are being worn, so we are replacing those. And then over here, we have a spring rider, and then a group spinner for about 3 kids. It goes super fast. It's extremely popular. And then I have some more views of that. So again, I think it's so cool that you can see the exact same slides that were installed 30 years ago, still in our renderings today, which is just a pretty big testament to the fact that we can still do replacement parts, and we can still even sell those exact same slides today.
Megan, is all of this, even the platforms, would be replaced then too as well? Because in some of the photos where you took me on, the footing and stuff on the platforms is all worn and it's gone down to the metal and it's not safe.
Yeah, so we didn't use any of the stuff that's worn for this retrofit. So these 2 decks would be reused because those ones are still pros, cons of these things too, if we have time today. Let's see this ABC climber come up, there's a panel right there right now out there, so just adding a different type of climber for the little kids. Adding some new panels, so this one you can make images, the plastic pieces spin, and then on top there's a gear panel, so you spin one thing and the rest spin. Again, just things the little kids love, they love to touch stuff, they love to make things move, and so that's why we added those there. This is our spring rider, super durable springs, and the kids just love that. There's that spinner. And then you can see a good preview view. These are your existing swings. And then that's what that top arm will look like. So it kind of just sticks right out to the side. And then these swings would all be reused. My quote includes new chains, new hardware. And then one of these swings would be completely brand new. When I provide our pricing, I also provide all the equipment list pricing so you can see where my pricing is coming from. So if you're curious about how much is this climber, how much is this spinner, you can see it all right there. And then this is the full quote. I quoted a company out of Somerset that can do the removal of the equipment and removal of the sand. He actually takes equipment and salvages it and removes equipment for free. So really the equipment portion was free, but the removal of the sand is basically what that cost is. And the wood timber board. And then my quote includes new certified wood fiber delivery and installation, and then professional installation by a certified manufacturer certified installation group.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Having recently had a little toddler myself in the last 8 years. So is it wood chips are up to standard, but sand is not?
Right.
Am I understanding that right? Why? Do you know why that is?
Sand is almost like, it's hard to walk in, first of all. It's hard to run in. So if you try to imagine like wheeling a wheelchair through that, it's very much impossible. Like I said, wood chips are still not great, but they're better.
It's a fall impact thing. We install the playground wood chips and certified stuff. It's some of the impact from falling wood chips.
So
Yeah, so that's the other, there's the ADA aspect and then there's the safety aspect.
because I will tell you that the wood chip parks, we avoid it.
Yeah.
The splinters, all kinds of problems. Can you give us a quote with, do you also, is rubber up to standard, those ground rubber?
Yes.
I'm assuming
Rubber is
that's,
the best.
right, and I'm
but-
assuming that's more expensive?
Yes.
I would like to see the quote with rubber.
Sure. Yeah, so I usually say that rubber takes up about 50% of your budget with how
Did you say 1.5 or 5.0?
5.0. But you can get creative with how you design it. So the higher the equipment is, the thicker the rubber needs to be. The thicker the rubber is, the more expensive it is. But I can always show you what that cost would be, and then that way you have it. You can also do areas of rubber to certain equipment instead of the entire area.
Yeah, well, like I'm looking at your third photograph, right? And that's envisioning that, I'm assuming that whole area being wood, correct?
Yes.
So I'm assuming you don't need all of that for the maximum distance a kid could possibly fall off of those, right? There's a radius, I'm sure, that goes out there, right?
Yeah, so here, I like showing the
There.
image, yeah. So the reason it's kind of spread out is because we had to use where the existing equipment is over here in orange. That's why they're so, you'll see in my second option, everything's a little bit closer together. But since it's over here, we have a little bit of space, which can always be filled in with more equipment in the future. But this red zone outside of the equipment is and other equipment. There's certain equipment where the use don't overlap. That all depends on the safety rules and what kind of equipment it is. But basically anywhere where you see that safety zone is where there needs to be that safety surfacing.
Right, and I guess that's what I'm saying is, I'm not a mathematician, but the area bounded in pink is a significantly amount less than the area bounded by tan.
Yes. Yes. So in my quote, I have new wood fiber for everything right now. Because if you remove all this sand, you're going to have a dirt pit. Basically, so you need to fill it back up with
Sod.
yeah, and then seed it and stuff like that. So that can be more expensive. It can be. So this is part of the discussion. You know what you want to do in that situation. So I just went full wood chips for now, just so that you're covered with something instead of just us leaving you with a pit of dirt.
We do have other items on the agenda. Can you fast forward to option 2? Show us what that looks like.
Now, there's so much to talk about with playgrounds. It is.
Right, I didn't know that till I kid.
Yeah, so the proposal goes through some more images. You click on stuff that'll send you to that folder that has everything in it. But one thing I really like to just point out is just the difference between a rendering and the real life experience of the equipment. The rendering doesn't speak to that actual scale. It's really hard to. So when you can see the curved spinner, you see like some middle school boys on it versus the rendering kids, it just kind of shows how they're using it.
And Megan, there are government funds out there that we could possibly apply for to try to get more funding so that we could do the rubber.
Yes, there's definitely grant opportunities out there. I can send you guys some links to resources for that if you want to try to get more than what I'm showing also. Option 2 is all brand new equipment besides the swings to show you what that would look like if you wanted to go that route. And so this option is basically one structure altogether with a tall slide and a small slide. So you're kind of reaching the little kids and the older kids. However, there's like the structure itself is labeled for 5 to 12-year-olds, which I like to point out in difference in that if you have 2 separate structures, you can label them separate age groups. But if you have one structure where you're kind of inviting all the kids onto it, it has to be labeled for the older age group. But intentionally, we designed a playground that has a small slide and a tall slide. And the tall slide is a little bit taller than what you have out there now. It's super fun, super steep, and then 2 kids can go down next to each other, which is always fun. Our quote was just under 100 for this one. Had all the same things included, except for the toddler seat. We actually reused one of the existing toddler seats out there, because those are still in good condition, and then we quoted new chains. Here's some images of that structure. So again, what I like to point out is the climbers going up to the structure are all a little different, so kids are getting different experiences when they try to go up. There's rock climbing in holes, there's more of like a step ladder, there's under deck plays with a storefront, imaginary panel, a play table, cable net climber in the middle that kind of reaches both areas. And kids can kind of choose if they want to stay on the lower side or go to the taller slide, or if they want to try this climber that day or that climber. So a lot of different choices. And then linking off of it are some overheads, some monkey bars. And then we have a larger group spinner that you consider stand-on, which is really great for that inclusive play. If someone is in a wheelchair or a walker and can get there, they can transfer out and sit on that and spin with their friends. That is an awesome spinner. And so we purposely want to show that just as there is one out there right now. And then spring rider, that's just a colorful bear. And you guys don't have to go with these colors. We just wanted to show something really different than what's out there right now. More play panels on the structure. how many kids can pile onto that sooner.
Megan, would you be willing to print off those two options with the prices on it for us?
Yeah.
And then,
You could also email to me, I think, too.
yeah, is that, and then information about possible government grants. And that would give us the time to have discussion and look and see what we want to actually spend. But thank you for, showing this to everybody, because I don't think anybody knew.
Yeah, and my last request that, on top of that would be, kind of for both options, what if we just sodded it, in some of that open space area? The sod is cheap. And if we're gonna do this, here's my thought. Let's make, I know rubber also lasts a lot longer. And like I said, when my kids were that age, we avoided the place of wood because we were tired of this winters, the cuts, the bird feet.
Yeah.
So I would like to see something along the lines of, if we minimized the area of the rubber that was required by the minimums and sodded the rest, if you could kind of give us a tweak to that estimate on 1 and 2.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, so you see this aerial image is a lot more squished together because we're taking out the other two structures completely. And so this would be a good option for rubber because we really try not have any empty space, especially if you're using rubber. I don't like doing it even with wood chips, but it's hard with glass because of the existing equipment. But another cool thing to add is that, say in like 5 years you had like some more money that you wanted to add on. This option kind of allows for that right off of where this overhead is. So if you did wood chip this, you could come in and add more equipment reaching over into here. So more monkey bars, more like slides if you wanted to. We can do some really cool things that link like hollow play. You can do independent climbers, things like that in that area if you wanted to. But even if it was grass, you could still swim into that area in the future. You don't have to.
Right.
So.
All right, well, thank you very much. We still have a little bit longer agenda than maybe I'd like to see here tonight yet, but thank you very much for coming in, and I look forward to seeing your new submissions, and we can help get that to us.
For sure. Thank you.
Oh, and one other thing that we did talk about today, our bench out there needs some loving help, and I had asked you about an estimate for possible seating out there, that maybe there's some people in our community that would like to donate money and have their nameplate put on a bench seat, or possibly 2 bench seats. Maybe there's 2 families. So I would like to put that option out there as well to the community. If there's people out there that would like to donate and have their name on a bench, we're going to come up with a value of what we think would look nice out there, and let you decide if you'd like to donate.
Awesome. Sir, are you Mr. Grafset?
Yeah.
All right, let's call item 12, discussion action on Ernest Grafset animal control bills. Come on up, sir.
Okay.
All right, so last time we heard, you sat through a very long meeting. I promised you to be back on the agenda tonight. Thank you for coming back. So I understand you had some complications, some things that came up between the last time and now. So what are you requesting the town to do with your animal control bills?
Well, the biggest thing is, he came out, we discussed what they had a complaint about. There was nothing that he had. He told me that I did not have anything that was in violation. So to have to pay him to come out because someone is telling him that I've got a puppy mill and that I had the dogs out in the fenced area continuously, which is not the case. I've seen so many coyotes around, they don't go out until I go out, and then I get them back in within 5-10 minutes.
Let me jump in here if that's okay. So I have a couple of concerns, but I also have a couple of bits of understanding. I'm willing to work with you, given your circumstance that you described last time. Okay. I was concerned when I heard you say you had 4 dogs. How many dogs do you have?
Right now, 5.
Have you paid licensing on all 5 of your dogs?
They are licensed. Not here, but they are licensed.
Don't you live here?
I do. The Pomeranians are licensed down in Pine Island, Minnesota. That's where my fiance lives, and they're her dogs.
Okay.
And they spend.
You can understand my concern that regardless of what happened with the animal control, let's set that away for a second, right?
Well,
when I heard you say you had 5 dogs, I'm like, well, do you have 5 dogs licensed with us? That was my concern.
The other thing is, there's one of the Pomeranians that she picked up because it was either she takes it or gets euthanized. And that was actually eliminated 2 of her resident Pomeranians.
How often are the dogs in the town of Hudson?
What?
How often are the 5 dogs, Pomeranians, in the town of Hudson?
I'm sorry.
How often are the Pomeranians in the town of Hudson with you?
Probably around 50% of the time.
All right, fair enough. So, but you're saying they're your fiance's dogs, right?
Right, and since we're getting married in September, in August, I've got licensed the Pomeranians here this year.
Okay.
The one Pomeranian that she just picked up is not spaded yet. It will be next week.
I understand that. You gotta have time to allow that. Susan, do you have any questions for this gentleman?
Yes, I do. From my understanding, the dog animal control was called out because of noise, barking dogs. So that's originally why he was out there, was for the barking dogs. And that's what the original bill was, for him to come to your place. And then after that, it was discovered that there was multiple dogs. And I'm sorry about your help, but we can't wait until you get married to have those dogs licensed here.
I'm not saying that.
They need to be licensed that every year by the end of January. We're now the first part of March. So those Pomeranians, if they're going to be in the town of Hudson, they need to be licensed here as well. And it's $25 per dog, unless they're not spayed or neutered. So it's not...
It's $25 if they're spayed or neutered?
Yes, it's $25 if they're spayed or neutered. Is it 20?
It's less if they are.
Yes, it's less if they are.
I thought it was 10 if they're spayed.
It's 10 if they're fixed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think it's $25.
For Omar, I'm going down to Rochester, which is where their veterinarian is next week from Friday. And I will get the documentation on their shots and also their...
The rabies is what is required for the state of Wisconsin. And so
yes, and they're due within a couple of of weeks.
And that's fine. If you have that, though, for each of the dogs, and come in here and see, we will give you a license upon, but we need that now, not later in the summer.
No, I'm looking at probably within the next couple of weeks or so.
Wonderful.
Just as soon as the one dog gets spaded, that means that they all are.
And then can you pay that $73.60 for the animal control? We're not, we're not gonna charge you interest or anything like that. But that original call out there, that he came out there because of the barking dogs, we're just asking that we get.
They were in the house when
That
they
we
were
get,
barking.
but he got called out there, sir. And so the dog, animal control bills the town of Hudson. So we're asking you to pay that bill because that is not our bill. They were not our dogs.
Well,
But I was not,
Sir,
I mean,
sir,
he was
sir,
there,
sir,
he
hold
said
on,
it was
sir,
not a
sir,
violation.
sir. I'm trying to help you, okay? So
Yeah.
just listen, okay? I'm willing to work with you on this bill because you've had some health problems. And if you're telling us that you can get licensed, those dogs licensed, I mean, here's the thing. All of us are understanding that there are health problems that might get in the way or people don't understand the rules once, right? I'm willing to work with you on this. But just understand that this takes up a lot of our time and resources to deal with dogs barking, all right? So here's what I will say. I want to make a motion just to speed this up. I will move that we waive half of the bill of $73.60 upon proof of registration of all 5 of his dogs. So in other words, if you can register like you're legally required to, this is 15 days being in this town, is the standard. That's why I asked you how long they were here. So if you can pay the $40 for the 4 neutered dogs and the 25 or whatever it is for the non-neutered dog, we will waive half of this bill. That's my motion. It hasn't passed yet, but I'm trying to help you. So do I have a second?
May I make one question, one thing though?
Well, at the risk of hurting your case,
No, it's the fact of the matter is, I asked who it was that made the complaint. And he goes, I don't know. I don't have any idea. If I'm going to get penalized for someone calling for complaints of dogs, my dogs and my fiance's dogs are not as noisy as the ballpark or some of the other dogs. I don't complain about the ballpark. I don't complain about the other dogs. We're in the country.
I understand, sir. So I have a motion. It has not been seconded.
I'll second.
All right. Motion by Fowler, second by Don. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I believe the larger dog, your larger dog has been licensed. You did come, that your fiance did come in and license that dog for
He
2026.
had a license from Hudson, and now he's in Florida. I don't have it now. He's started his service dog training, and he's on the group that are going to be seeing my dogs.
He's also been licensed this year, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, so that's not an issue. We need 4 dogs, 3 that are not neutered, or 3 that are neutered, 1 that's neutered. That's my motion. If everybody understands what I'm getting at. Is there any further discussion?
It's 5.
Plus the one he's already got licensed.
No, there's 5 dogs now. There was 4 bombs, it's got 1 more.
All right.
I got 4 that are spaded
Okay,
and 1 that is not.
and that's the crux of
And
my
she
motion.
was spaded on Friday.
All dogs.
All dogs is my motion. Whether they're neutered or not, pay the appropriate fee. Any further discussion?
I would just say that if you can get the payment in before our next meeting, and the 5th dog is by then spayed, that he pays whatever
accept that amendment. That is the intent of my motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. That concludes your item. Number 9, discussion action on Willow River Company rebuilding plans. It's you, sir.
Yeah, I think, did they get, were able to disperse the,
New one?
yeah. So you guys all got the plans for site plan? So the residence is already underway. They're working on that currently. That's the larger shed. The one with the plan commission last week, or whatever that was, is the 60 by 40. That's on the northern edge of the buildings on that site plan. This is the 60 by 40 building. So essentially what we're doing is, obviously everyone knows what our building burned down. That building's half residence, half business essentially. So the residence is being rebuilt in the exact spot, and the shed that was actually cold storage, which actually they think that the fire started. We're separating that out so that we don't have the same problem happen again, and just moving it to a different location, just kind of northern area. Which is why we're going from one building that was all connected to separate all.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. White. This was recommended to be approved by the Planning Commission, correct?
Yes.
And you got in at the very next, like there was no delay, right?
I absolutely appreciate the yes, in these quickly.
And I do want to say I'm sorry that you guys had to experience this loss. Stuff happens, right?
Been a pain in the butt.
As it relates to the action on the Willow River Company rebuilding plans, is there any further questions of the gentleman? Is there a motion to approve?
So, yeah, this looks like it's just really replacing the building that was already there. The bigger building, and then the other building that's up there in the west corner, is that like being torn down, or how is that? Is there a building there? Or am I just looking at this wrong?
No. So the poles, what you can see the proposed building, there's nothing there. What we're doing is we remove the cold storage area of the building that burned down and moving that up to that area.
Any further questions? Do we have a motion? Move to approve. Is there a second?
A second.
Motion by Bartizal, second by Blank. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Before you sit down, I see on our notes here that there is a follow-up requested on the town's rules for burning at the property. I think we've gotten some offhanded complaints, not a formal complaint, mind you, but I have certainly been contacted. I know you're burning like for the last 5, 6, 7 days. I don't know how many in a row, but
Yeah.
every day it's burning. While we're looking at the rules, I would ask you to look at the rules too, okay? Because if I remember right, our previous clerk told me that for commercial properties, they were supposed to call the John Chairman and get written approval for every single one. Now let me tell you, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because you burn a lot, right?
Yeah.
So we'll have to figure something out, but I would ask you to review the rules, and we'll review the rules. We may have to discuss this at another meeting. I know it's that time of year when you're burning. I mean, I get it. But I think the rule is you're supposed supposed to be able to burn the stuff that you generate on your property.
Sure.
So, anyway, take a look at the rules, is all I'm saying.
For sure.
We'll look at them too. We haven't had any formal complaints, so I guess there's nothing for us to act on. Susan, do you have anything to add on that?
No, I just got a copy here for, if you'd like to see what the rules are.
Sure. Why don't you take that? If you.
I printed it off.
And here's the thing. If there's a requirement to call or get written permission from the town chairman and everything, just, we'll talk or we'll work something out. Right? Because I really don't want to, every day you're burning or having to wait for me.
Yeah.
Every day, right? So we can work something out.
For sure.
What's that?
So me, it's probably something we need to get to you.
Right, and it tie up staff or, yeah, exactly, so.
Yeah, with that said, I think that there is a requirement that every day has to call this with fire department or dispatch.
Yes, and that would be the same as if it was a residential person.
Yeah. Which we've been doing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But we'll discussion action on town storage shed for roadsides.
Yeah, good to go.
Yeah. Thanks.
I'll take this if you want.
Yeah, go for it, please.
Okay, it was discovered that the town owns a little shack. Everybody's got a picture of the shack. These photos were taken by Scott. Anyway, this shack is down at the county shop behind their old building. While they're building their new building, I was notified by Matt about this little shack. This holds our signs that we're not currently using, whether they're weight signs, whatever signs in there. I believe there are signs in there that we do not need anymore, but myself and Dave and Scott are willing to go down there and sort through it when the time comes. But we're going to have to look at replacing this building. There's too much signage in there for Scott to find somewhere here within one of our buildings. So I think
I got an email on this.
I think, yes, but what we may need to do is we're going to have to come up with some type of how much we're willing to spend and then confirm with St. Croix County that they would be willing to let us put another small building down there for storage for these signs because they're the ones that are going to have to get to those signs when they need to be posted. So we're going to have to come up with some kind of an idea of what we think we're willing to spend.
Is the footprint of that building is about 6 feet by 6 feet? It's pretty small.
I believe it was like, I thought it was 8 by 10.
Is this the photo you
Yes, yeah, I think it was 8 by 10.
Okay.
And I would agree that it is absolutely not in good condition to move. And I got an email from Matthew Corbett on this, and so basically they're saying they need to demo it. What do we want to do with it? And if you've got a solution to take a look at it,
Well, we want to go through it and pull out what we need to keep. And then recycle the rest of the signs and demolish this building. But we still need to get permission from St. Croix County that they would allow us to put another building out for their use. Or if they would possibly have space inside for us with the new building, which I doubt. But we're still going to have to come up with money then to purchase a new building.
Susan, could we maybe get a meeting with Matt to just kind of talk through it, get a read from the county on what they would allow? For instance, if we suggested going to Menards and buying a shed and putting it up, would that be acceptable to them? Or would they say, no, we need something that's up to more of a commercial standard?
Right.
I just think we need to explore that and figure that out. And like you said, sort the signs out and try to come back maybe next month with a proposal at cost. That would be my suggestion.
I just emailed Matt that exact same thing. So, I would say I don't know if we need a motion on this because here's the thing. We don't know if we need storage if the signs that are there are garbage, right? I mean,
Right, there are
square feet, right? If it's 3 square feet, we've got room somewhere around here to store, right? If the rest are garbage, then they're garbage. So I don't think we can make a motion until we know what's on there. I just emailed Mr. Corbett to say, hey, please let staff on your property so that we can.
Right, and I did already discuss that with Matt, and I asked him, I said, when the weather got warmer, which it is now, and Dave wanted to be part of it, that the 3 of us would go down there and sort through.
Yeah, I think that,
And see where we're at.
I don't think that requires a motion. So with that understanding, is there any further discussion on this item? All right, number 14, discussion action on 2026 Festival Foods Turkey Trot Event Permit.
All right, this is me. So the Turkey Trot reached out to us for a special event permit. Your permit is in there as well as all of their maps. They did pay their $100 permit fee. The only thing we're pending, by the recommendation, would be that your motion, whatever it may be, if it does go forward, be contingent on them getting their liability insurance, which they are in the works of, and once we have that, I think that's all we need.
Well, number one, they're entitled to a $50 refund because I believe we did our special event permits down to $50. So we need to send them a check for $50 back. Because I remember Dan and I having quite the discussion on that, and we passed it. So they need to get their $50 back first. But did you identify any problems with their routes or anything like that, concerns?
It seems well thought out. I mean, it seems they have some traffic control ideas. John and I talked about it a little bit. If there was anything else they needed as far as traffic control, we are on the longer route of the 2. I guess it's kind of hopeful, and I can double check with them that they've talked to the county to see if they're doing any, emergency vehicles out there to try to help stop traffic. It would assume you're on major roads, you'd have to. But I can double check on that, but it seemed from everything they gave me, it all looked very professional, well done, so.
Any further discussion, anybody? My only thing is, we should change the, I know why they paid $100, because it says fees, application fee, we need to change that to $50.
Yep, I autopilot it right over to go, so.
Awesome.
Need that change.
Is this the first time that they're doing this?
No, I found previous minutes have been doing it before.
And the route was the same in the past?
I didn't see a former route in the past, but that's where I saw they had the liability insurance in there with them. That was the only thing I didn't get from them right away, so.
Is this what they do on Thanksgiving Day? Or?
Yep. Yeah, so you're getting ready away that.
They already
Which is
at
nice.
my house.
Yeah.
They're having a blast. Laughing.
I don't know who runs the fund, so good for them.
Well, as a former military, I'm sure you don't want to run any more than you have to.
Yeah, I'm run out.
All right. Is there a motion, anybody?
I made a motion that we approve it.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, discussion action and follow-up for violations noted at Cty Surgeons. Dan, first of all, before you start, Dan, thank you for agreeing to have this delegated to you, and I appreciate that very much.
Okay, well, what I did is I met with Mr. Werner from Cty Surgeons, and what you have in front of you is his cover letter, and there's 2 quotes here in regard to surfacing, and one of them includes kind of a little bit of a schematic. Anyway, our concerns really are multiple. They included outside storage, screening, fencing, in that area, screening of downstairs, as well as the driver's and parking area, and then the landscaping plan. As per the original approval, going back several years. And what I did is I told Mr. Warren that I couldn't necessarily speak for the board. I did ask him to write a letter to stages, so he's got like essentially 1/3 of it done. There's another 2/3 that needs to be completed yet. Which makes it difficult in terms of, you know, the fencing. So he is proposing that to put up like a temporary fence, you know, it would still be a 6-foot tall fence, and it would run around the parking area, you know, where he has cars right now. And he makes the point that all of the vehicles are vehicles being worked on. They all are intended to be street-worthy vehicles, which is interesting because there's a lot of them out there. Right? There's at least 30 cars out there, and they're a small shop, and he's got cars backed up, you know, that need to be worked on. But, you know, he's concerned also, he said that, you know, someone might come along and with their extra set of keys and take a car, you know, without paying their bill. So he has incentive, you know, to have that completed also. And then there was some on-site storage that, you know, I said, you know, that actually has to be cleaned up right away. Part of the issue we're dealing with is the frozen ground and, you know, what can be done. He does have, you know, quotes for paving and screening of the dumpsters and so forth, and then planting trees. You know, the removal of the transmissions is pretty minor overall in terms of, you know, what is being done. So that's the one by March 16. And the next date he has on there is the screening of the dumpsters, which is 4/15. That's again fairly minor. And then we got the fencing at 6/15. So it seems to me that you know, we're not going to see a lot materially done until 6/15 for all practical purposes, based upon, you know, the proposal that he's given us. And with that, I entertain any questions or comments.
I have one question. So when he says a screening fence, that's different than a temporary fence. So 2 and 4 are different, right? On this back page.
The screening fence, you know, would not be, what he's saying is that it would be set up, it would be a 6-foot high fence, but it wouldn't necessarily be, you know, put into the ground with footings permanently, because of the fact that if you put the fence in where it ultimately has to go when the building is completed, the other stage, it's going to be different. And so his concern is putting in a fence that then has to be torn up. So he would like to do essentially a fence that essentially is just kind of sitting there on its own stands.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, item 4 on the back of his letter, screening of dumpsters, that is a different fence than the screening fence.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the dumpster one is just so that, you know, we don't see the dumpsters. So, and that's seen by the road.
Did he discuss anything about what type of material he was going to use for the temporary fencing?
You know, I believe that he was saying that it would be like a chain link with the, you know, with stuff in there that blocks the view.
Well, my thoughts are anything is better than it looks now. But in your review, Dan, did you believe that? Well, I should ask: is there anybody here from Cty Surgeons?
Cty Surgeons.
Seeing none, for the record. Dan, did you get the sense that can comply to what was originally contemplated by your board at the time?
That you can comply.
Yeah.
It works.
I mean, I don't have, a good sense of the financials and everything. As I have a family that works there. His son's working there. He talked about being a legacy, for his son. It seems to me like this is something that has to be written. Like you have to kind of keep on top of it. I think these are just like starting dates because there's still the completion of the building, the final reiteration or whatever. So.
Dan, was there any mention of a letter of credit? That, so we have something to follow up on?
Yeah, I think that, there is concern on his part as far as, because he has some other, the financing, the stuff that he's going to be doing, in terms of putting out the letter of credit. So, that's something that we have to revisit. It seemed like it's kind of like, getting money for credit and then completing all the other stuff at the same time is going to be difficult for him. I would say that's true.
Any other questions by board members?
Did you possibly connect with him to say that there's going to be a follow-up on here? So
Yes.
he realizes that we're not just...
Yeah, I told him that, we've got to have, I said, again, and I didn't want to commit to him or anything in terms of how we would handle this, but I told him at the very least, we need, a plan that has specific date points of which things are completed. And I think at least that would give the board something to work with. And then we would have to see how compliance went on that. But I think it's really up to the board to decide, whether or not we want to extend this. I mean, I think part of the issue is that working with what we have there, this at least gives us something that we can hold to. And
What's your recommendation, Dan? I mean, you met with him, that's why.
yeah, I would say that, we just basically, we give them an extension until June 15th. And take the 3 items, that are to be done, and that they have to be, and he has to meet the steps, that he's committed to on here by those dates, so that we would come out and we look at it to see if the items, intermediate items, so there's 2 intermediate items, the March 16th one and the April 15th one, to see if that actually has been completed.
Because it seems to me like those two are pretty easy to do.
They're really easy to do, I think. They shouldn't have a problem.
What if we did, we accept his timeline as proposed, but if he fails to do 1 and 4 by the dates listed, then the town will have the option to take other action.
I think that's reasonable.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
All right, I'll second it. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign? Motion
Can you
carries.
rephrase the whole thing one more time, just a total?
Yeah, let me rephrase it. So, the motion is to the gentleman's timelines as provided in the letter, with the understanding that if items 1 and 4 are not done on the date specified, that the town reserves the right to take other action. Number 16, I'm assuming this is you, Nick?
Yep, real quick, third time doing this, just adding more people to our poll workers list. The names for this would be Elizabeth Moline, who tonight agreed that she would consider it, and Jim Gorson. Both have worked in the past. Great to have people come back, they know what they're doing, know what to expect. It's better to have more than not enough. So.
Right. And I did hear from Christy Hughes, who called me separately, and she said that something came up on the training meeting, but she still wants to be on the list.
Perfect. Even more.
All right, cool. Well, I think as clerk, you have the ability just to do that, so.
It does prefer to be board approved, so I probably could, but it's safer to just throw it out here.
All right, let's do this. Let's, tell me the names again.
Elizabeth Moline and Jim Thorson.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve those two names to be appointed as additional election workers for the 2026 election cycle.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Number 17, discussion action to approve dedicated animal control services contract renewal.
This one is also kind of new. We got the animal control contract from Darrell Hall again. In the packets that you have, I highlighted the two portions that I guess I drew attention to. So they were, one is the change, the rate per hour, and then the second is the liability insurance that he carries, which is split between the various township municipalities that he serves. Last year, excuse me, last year that was roughly $50. So I was curious what that amount was. Nothing too terrible, but again, it's split between 6 or 7 municipalities. So
I also see here, Mr. Clerk, that you have a question about anonymous complaints. I share the gentleman's frustration of anonymous complaints. And, at least in our country, it's people should feel comfortable enough to call, right? They should also not fear retaliation, but I really am uncomfortable with anonymous complaints because it gives the person no recourse. And if we were to cite somebody, they would be entitled to the entire discovery, which includes who's accusing them. And if it's anonymous, that's not possible. And then we're charging somebody based on somebody who would have a grudge. And as much as we'd like to think our neighbors don't do that, I know better. Okay, I know better. So I do think that before we approve this agreement, that we would have to make changes that to item 4B, that anonymous complaints, you can do a drive-by, I guess, or something like that, but to see if he just hears it, but I don't know if we want him investigating anonymous complaints.
And the challenge with the drive-bys, the biggest portion of his expense is his drive time. So that's not really a great alternative option either. I know where you're headed, but it's still incurring a lot of costs just for him to do that.
So I have a question on that. So in this case in particular, what happened was the complaint came in through dispatch. My understanding, right?
Correct.
And then who did dispatch contact?
Darrell.
They did directly?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I think we should just tell Darrell that if it comes without a name, that it just not accept it. So that would be the town or a specific caller.
So he's going to have to specifically ask St. Croix County if St. Croix County was notified that he needs a name and address of where the complaint comes from before he moves forward.
Also, I have a question as based on the number of towns divided by. Why the 24 versus 20?
He said he's been in the job for 13 years, been with us for, I don't know the exact amount of time with us, but been with us for a while, and that was the number that he had put out there.
I'm opposed to that, for the record.
Did he seem open to negotiation?
We didn't have a back and forth on it. That was his call out in the email he sent the contract over, was that this was the only major change that was in there. Was just the increase in hourly rate.
I think it would be nice if we could reach out and see if he's willing to negotiate.
My suggestion would be we take no action on this until the next meeting. And I will make a motion though, that for the next meeting, I move that we amend the contract, whatever rates ultimately decided on, to amend section 4B to be investigate complaints that are not anonymous only. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Just one question.
Yeah.
When does the current contract expire?
I don't know if I don't know if it's a yearly thing he does. It's a 2-year, what it might be.
I would just be concerned that.
I don't think it's yearly. I think John told me this. He saw it before. Sending over records.
Okay. I mean, the concern is that if we're left without a contract, we would not have animal control.
And animal control is not an easy gig. So it's not like there's a lot of people out there that want to do this. So I'd like to tread softly and just see if he's willing to negotiate.
Right. So we can make that as part of the next motion. But right now, I'm saying whatever contract we have, amend 4B to say investigate complaints that are not anonymous only. That's the motion that's in front of you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. So is it your sense, Susan, that you want to authorize Mr. Hanlos to negotiate or be our point person of negotiation on the contract?
Yes, I think that motion, I would give you the freedom to do that and just see, feel them out and see what we can get.
How about if we authorize them to renew the contract at $22 an hour, and otherwise has to reach the court, $22 an hour less.
Well, I guess, so that's a motion. I'm taking that as a motion. Is there a second? Second. All right. Discussion. My point of discussion would be this. I get it, it's happening, but so that would be a 10% increase here, right? I mean, I don't get a 10% increase from my government job, neither do any of us. So I guess what he's requesting is a 20% increase, right?
Yes.
And so I guess before we fiscally responsibly give 10% raises, I'd like to know what the justifications are. And even 22, I guess I would speak against the motion just because that's a 10% increase.
Isn't that the first increase in like a decade though?
Yeah.
He's been, I want to say, with us 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, it's about 6 years, I think. And so, yeah, so it would be the first increase in like about 6 years. So it's not really an annual increase. So.
Any further discussion? All right, let's call the question then. All those in favor of Dan's motion, which just to reiterate is authorize Mr. Hanlos to be our point person in negotiation and authorize him to enter into the contract if it's $22 or less. Everybody understand the motion? All right, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Motion carries 4-1. at number 18, communications for future agendas, or items for future agendas.
I think we have some fire ordinance changes that have been approved by our lawyer and rewritten, so we should put that on next month.
I would like to add the possibility of dedicating a public space for the property that is just south of Interstate 94, if it is in fact town property. Anybody else?
I heard that we have some concerns about the safety of our playground equipment. Do we need to, as we're coming up on playground season, do we need to talk about closing the playground? Is it to that level?
I don't believe it's to the point of closing it, but with those railroad ties where they're sticking out and stuff like that, they're pretty scary. So we could have, in order to remove them with the nails, then you're getting into another pile of parts, because you can't just replace one and we're wasting our money.
Well, but if we have a known hazard, we're liable. So if it's open and obvious and we know about it, we should just remedy it immediately. So I think that's something that we can just talk to Scott and say, do you have any expertise that you feel comfortable removing any, something?
He would have to, some of those he'd have to actually just pull the railroad ties totally out because of the nails, and it's not just nails, there's spikes in there as well. Some of the spikes can be driven down.
Well, I think we should put it on the agenda to, as Dave suggested, to see if there's some, for the season, remedial measures that we can take. But my understanding is since Scott's our parks person, if he knows of known hazards, it's my expectation that they be fixed. And he's got an arts account, whatever expense it takes, if there's open and obvious hazards, we should take care of it. John, you got anything?
Just a point of information for future agendas. I may have missed this, the request for proposals to do brushing.
So that's kind of an aside. That's been already approved to have the brushing done. It's been kind of a thing that's been looming for me to get out. This is what I put together. I wanted to see what you guys thought about it. It wasn't on the agenda because it was already approved. But I can send that to the paper tomorrow, get that in the paper as quick as possible. But first time doing this, figure I want to run it by somebody first before I ask people to spend money on us.
Yeah, Don, you weren't probably here, but we were going to leave it open for bids because we had one company come in and discuss, so we can't just turn it over to that one company. We're going to open it up and see who else might come in with bids. Instead of having just all the brushing being done by St. Croix County.
Thank you.
Yeah, good point. I didn't even, so many pieces of paper. No, it looks good. You should set it up. That's already good. So, anybody else have anything for next month?
Just housekeeping. I just want to reach out. Maybe Matt will contact you, but with this warmer weather, we better be aware of road restrictions, weight restrictions coming. And then once that does happen, I'd like you to post that at the top of our webpage.
I can jump into that a little bit. So I just talked to Mr. Corbett earlier this week. I want to say Monday. He said with nice weather, he's been contacting, most of the places have contacted him and said they'd like him to go up. And I told him, I said, if you're doing it, put them up. So when I would just reach out to Matt, it doesn't need to go on the agenda. Reach out to Matt and just say, has those gone up? Because he already contacted me and I said, yes, do it. Because if we're going to get nice weather, let's get it up. But yes, we should put it on the website. Yes.
One thing to think about for the next town board meeting, it's going to be right around the beginning of April. I like taking over this room in the 2 weeks prior to the election, so we might push back that town meeting towards after the 7th. but it's gonna get kind of interesting because we have an annual town meeting that is, it's either the 14th or the 17th, it's somewhere there.
I think it's later than usual this year.
I think it's the 17th. It's like the third Tuesday in April, basically. But just one thing to consider that I'm kind of asking us to push that meeting from the April 1st, I think is the first Tuesday.
Well, we're meeting on Wednesday.
What's that?
Okay, the annual meeting is the 21st.
Oh, good.
Okay.
And the election is the 1st, correct?
The 7th.
The 7th.
Otherwise, we have our meeting at first.
But that room will still be.
Yeah,
it's two sides.
I'd like to have everything done by then.
What if we do it the following week, the 8th, which is a Wednesday still?
Might put Scott to work on putting the room back, we can do that.
That's fine, but we have, we have run our April meetings a week later, so I don't see where this would be a big problem.
That sounds good. Make work. It might be spent, but it might work.
Well, we'll help you. Since it says communications and items for future agendas, I think it's relevant to change our date that to remain enough. So is everybody okay with changing it to the Wednesday, April 8th at 6 p.m.?
Yeah.
Unanimous consent? All right, great. So that'll be our next meeting. Any other business, or do we have any motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Question from the audience.
Okay. What's up, Greg?
I'll be quick. I want to make a comment back to the Sioux resurgence. My perspective from the planning commission, and I'm not picking on them, and I've mentioned the planning commission meetings in the past, but if Subi has been adding on to that building, I'm assuming they're getting building permits. And the building inspector then is not picking up on like the dumpster enclosure. Why are we issuing permits when there's a violation, an existing violation? Why aren't we fixing these violations as we go along and not, this has been happening across the town. I've mentioned it to the prior building inspector at the planning commission meetings, and just an FYI, I just want to mention that.
All right, that's a good point. I don't think it's got a permit for that second piece yet, so.
No. All right, so all in favor of adjournment?
Yeah.
Aye. Meeting is concluded at 8:16.